name is Mason, and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering video. My last video was me sorting my cube by color, making sure the rares are on top, all that stuff. Today I'm going to make the first video showing you all the cards in the cube. I'm not sure how many colors I will do in each video. I'll start off with one and then see if it makes sense to do more based on the time. So, a few quick things about the cube. There are 360 cards total between all 5 colors, multicolored, artifact, and land. There are a few archetypes in it that you will see, some tribal themes and some other things like that. Some color combinations are stronger than others, but I did try to make a heavy multicolor theme. There are more multicolor cards than there are in any other color. And there's a lot of 2-colored lands. Also, this is a budget cube. Honestly, I'm pretty sure the most expensive card in it is Boros Charm, which is an uncommon, and it's just because I wanted the whole cycle of charms. So, all the rares are pretty much junk rares that I thought could be fun in a draft environment. And there's a lot of interesting uncommons, and then, of course, some staple commons that pull it all together. So, without further ado, we'll go in Wooburg order and start with white. I have the rares on top, but otherwise this is in no particular order. So, the first card we have is from Magic Origins. It's Kytheon's Irregulars. It's 4 mana for a 4/3 with a renowned 1. When it deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it is round. You can also pay 2 white to tap target creature. So you can play it, and if your opponent happens to not have very many blockers, you can tap down one of their creatures and then swing in with this to get the counter on it. It's sort of the top end of a white weenie deck. And you can tap down some of their big creatures if they're in green or blue or something. So it's some late game value for white, which is sometimes hard to come by. And white is usually aggressive, but there are some like white-blue control and white-black control and stuff might not be quite as aggressive. So we have our second rare is Hold the Line. It's 1 and 2 white for an instant. Blocking creatures get +7/+7 until end of turn. If you're playing white weenie, or if you're playing blue-white control or something, making your creatures huge on block will be insane, especially against another aggro deck. So it doesn't seem that impressive, and it seems pretty niche, but it could be a blowout. Then we have Dragonscale General. It's 4 mana for a 2/3 human warrior. At the beginning of your end step, bolster X, where X is the number of tapped creatures you control. This is another slightly higher cost payoff for white aggressive decks. You want to turn your thing sideways and attack, and you can make all your stuff bigger by doing that. It's also a warrior, which is one of the tribes, black-white warriors, and some red or green can be splashed in as well, but it's primarily built around black and white. Then we have Avacyn Guardian Angel. She's 2 and 3 white for a 5/4 angel with flying and vigilance. So, on the high end of the curve, but pretty good. You can pay 2 and prevent all damage that would be dealt to another creature this turn by sources of the color of your choice. You can pay 7 to prevent all damage that would be dealt to target player this turn by sources of the color of your choice. So it can be a defensive card that you can sink your mana into to protect yourself while you get out your big threats, or if you're falling behind. And it's a flyer. Master of Pearls is a 2 mana 2/2, but you can play it face down as a morph creature for 3, and flip it up for 5, and when it's turned face up, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. So it can be a surprise buff for blockers or defenders. Either way, this sort of fits nicely into the white weenie deck or some sort of defensive. It's a nice combat trick, and it's also on a creature. Tivadar of Thorn is a 3-mana 2/2 with first strike and protection from red, which is pretty relevant because there's quite a bit of burn in the red. And when it comes into play, you can destroy target goblin. There are a fair amount of goblins in the cube. I hope to get more, but red goblins are definitely relevant. This is sort of the white hate card for goblins. Our last rare in white is Erishan Foremost. It's a 3-mana 2/2 human warrior, so more warrior tribal. It has double strike, which is awesome, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, another warrior you control gets double strike until end of turn. So this is a huge payoff card for playing warrior tribal, but even if you're not, it's just a good card. 3-mana 2/2 double strike. Okay, now everything else. I won't spend too much time reading the rest of the cards, so you might have to do a little bit of reading. Spectral Shepherd is a spirit. It's white, but it has blue in its mana in its ability cost. It's good for the spirit tribal. It's also good for blue-white flyers. All around decent card for those archetypes. Momentary Blink is good for, well, blinking things, flickering things. Just allows you to get enter the battlefield triggers back, and it has flashback, which you'll notice is also a big theme. Doppelgeist is an awesome 1/1 flyer spirit from the new set, Shadows over Innistrad. You can tap a creature when it comes into play, and then when you have Delirium, there's 4 more card types in your graveyard. At the beginning of your opponent's turn, you can tap down a creature they control, so it's a nice defensive card. Herald of Dramoka is a 2-mana 2/2 warrior with vigilance. Other warriors you control have vigilance. Another nice warrior tribal card. Vigilance isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's a nice payoff card for drafting warriors. Tarashi's Grasp. I do have some arcane stuff in here a little bit, so that's relevant. And also have a lot of enchantments. So this allows you to destroy an artifact or enchantment and gain life equal to its mana cost. And it's an arcane if you need to splice into arcane. Another warrior specific card. It's a 4-mana sorcery. Creatures you control get +2/+1 till end of turn, and warriors gain lifelink. It's not an instant, unfortunately, but it is. It can swing the tide, and lifelink is always great. Paraceline is 3-mana to destroy all enchantments and gain 1 life for each enchantment destroyed this way. So it destroys all your own enchantments if you have any, but you gain a life at least. Soul Catcher is in the Flyers archetype. Just a 1/1 for 2 flying. Whenever another creature with flying dies, you put a counter on it. Midnight Haunting is 3-mana to put 2 spirit tokens on the battlefield. Spirits and tokens are both archetypes in the cube. Timely Hordemate is another warrior. It's a 4-mana 3/2. If you attacked with a creature this turn, you can return a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is awesome. That's on an uncommon, which is pretty sweet, and a lot of the warriors can be pretty cheap. And I tried to make the curve of the cube pretty low, so there's a lot of 1 and 2 mana things. Mesa Enchantress is a payoff card for playing heavy enchantments. It's a 3-mana 0/2, but you draw a card whenever you play an enchantment. And of course, one of our enchantments is Oblivion Ring, which is a classic card. 3-mana enchantment to exile a non-land permanent, and when it leaves the battlefield, you return that permanent to its owner's control. And classic pacifism, 2-mana, enchanted creature can't attack or block. I believe this is the only miracle card, but it's good for white and whatever control. 6 mana to put an artifact, creature, or enchantment on the bottom of its owner's library but has Miracle for 1. So you can cast it for 1 if it's the first card you draw on your turn. Stone Cloaker is a nice defensive card. It's a 3 mana 3/2 of flying, which is already nice. It also has Flash, which is pretty nice. And you return a creature you control to its owner's hand, so it has protection. And when it enters the battlefield, you exile a card from a graveyard. So this card just does a ton of stuff, and it's very versatile. It can help save your cards, it can help re-enable enter the battlefield triggers, surprise blocker, has flying, and allows you to get rid of maybe a flashback card from your opponent's graveyard. So that's cool. Take up Arms is 5 mana to get 3 1/1 warrior tokens, so for both tokens and for warrior tribal. And then Mardu Horde Chief is a 3 mana 2/3 warrior. If you attacked with a creature this turn, when it comes into play, you get a warrior token as well. Sage's Referee is a 4 mana aura. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature, which I feel like most auras have to be attached to a creature. Well, I guess they could be attached to lands and stuff. Anyways, the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Phantom General is a 4 mana 2/3 Spirit Soldier. Creature tokens get +1/+1, so it's a spirit and it buffs tokens. So, works nicely. Another Spirit Tokens card is Spectral Procession. Its converted mana cost is 6, and you can pay any combination of things to play it. It has 3 mana symbols, and they're each half white and half 2 generic, so you can pay any combination of that. Either 3 white mana or 6 of anything, or anything in between. And you put 3 1/1 white spirit tokens flying on the battlefield. So 3 mana for 3 flyers is pretty nice. Silver Strike is a removal spell, 4 mana to destroy an attacking creature and gain 3 life. Mardu Hateblade is a 1 mana 1/1 warrior. You can pay a black, and it gains Death Touch. So it's an early game drop that has late game relevance to block a large creature and kill it easily. Trades up nicely. Nyx Fleece Ram is 2 mana for a 0/5 enchantment creature sheep. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life. Blocks for days and helps you gain life. Boros Fury Shield is a fun card. You prevent damage from a creature that's attacking or blocking, and if you used a red in the cost, it deals that creature's power to itself, to that creature's controller. Feeling of Dread, 2 mana to tap up to 2 creatures, and has flashback for 1 and a blue. I like that its flashback cost is the same converted mana cost as its main cost. It's just a way to get some damage in by tapping down some blockers, or preventing damage by tapping down some attackers. Smite the Monsters is 4 mana to destroy a creature with power 4 or greater. Takes care of those big threats, especially in white that doesn't have very many big things. Graceblade Artisan, it's a 3 mana 2/3, gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Healer of the Pride is 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Field of Souls. It's a 4 mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. It's kind of costly, but when your things start dying, they get replaced, which is pretty sweet. Waxmane Baku is a 3 mana 2/2 spirit. Whenever you cast a spirit or arcane spell, you may put a key counter on Waxmane Baku. Pay 1 and remove X key counters from Waxmane Baku. Tap X target creatures. So Spirit Tribal also synergizes with the few arcane cards that are in here. Allows you to tap creatures, which is generally a useful thing to do. Next, we have another enchantment-based card. It's Lotus Eye Mystics. It's a 3/2 for 4 with prowess. I like prowess. And when it enters the battlefield, you return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So it helps you get back those enchantments, and when you play the enchantment, it'll give it prowess, which is fun. Nahiri's Machinations is a newer card. It's a 2-mana enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, a creature you control gains indestructible. You can pay 1 and a red, and it deals 1 damage to a blocking creature. So it can be relevant in the early game, or if you have a big creature. Glimmerpoint Stag is 4 mana for an elk. It's a 3/3 with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you exile a permanent and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, so you just get to flicker any permanent. You could even do land, which is cool. If you need an extra mana that you want to use in your opponent's turn, just flicker a tapped land that you have. That'll come in untapped. Break of Day, is a 2-mana instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1 to end of turn, and if you have 5 or less life, those creatures are indestructible this turn. So it's a nice combat trick. It's great if you're ahead, it's great if you're behind. Being at 5 life and having your things be indestructible can be just what you need to push through. Blessed Spirits is a spirit, and it synergizes with enchantments. It's a 3-mana 2/2 flyer. When you cast an enchantment, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Seeker of the Way has always been a great card. It's a 2/2 for 2 with prowess, and basically when prowess triggers, it gains lifelink as well. I have the whole cycle of Vessel enchantments from Shadows over Innistrad, 1 for every color. Vessel of Ephemera is 2 mana, and you can pay 3 and sacrifice it to get 2 1/1 white spirit tokens. It's not the best, but I wanted to have the whole cycle, and it's another enchantment that's pretty cheap. Hopeful Eidolon is a 1-mana 1/1 enchantment creature spirit. It has lifelink, and you can bestow it for 4, and the enchanted creature has +1/+1 and lifelink. I tried to put a few good enchantment creatures into the cube because I didn't want to have all just static enchantments, and Theros has some fun stuff. Monk Idealist is a 3-mana 2/2 human monk cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you return an enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. Intangible Virtue, 2-mana enchantment creature tokens you control get +1/+1 in vigilance. So as you can see, there are some good cards for buffing up stuff, like between that and the Spirit General. If you have both those out, then that's +2/+2 in vigilance for all your tokens. Loam Lion is a 1-mana 1/1, but it gets +1/+2 as long as you control a forest. So, turn 2 in the cube, you could have a 2/3 if you play it on turn 1. I don't have any rare lands in here that would be a plains and a forest, so on turn 1 it won't be a 2/3, but turn 2 it can be. Arrow Volley Trap is 5 mana, but you can pay 2 mana if 4 or more creatures are attacking, and it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of attacking creatures. Trap cards are always interesting, and this is strictly better than what they printed in Battle for Zendikar. That's 5 mana to deal 5 damage among attacking creatures. Being able to pay 2 for that is nice. Nice defensive spell. And our last white card is Suspension Field. 2-mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature with toughness 3 or greater until it leaves the battlefield. So guys, that is white. Since this was 20 minutes, I'm just going to do one color at a time. Let me know what you think so far. If you think there's some decent cards, if things seemed good, no things that are just out of control. You guys got to see a bit of White Weenie. There's not a huge huge emphasis on that, but there's definitely warriors, which is fun. There's some white control, spirits and flyers, a lot of enchantment stuff, which you'll see more enchantments in the future. So, fun stuff, and this isn't supposed to be a crazy power queue, it's just supposed to be fun and have some good interactions, so hope you enjoy it. Can't wait to get some friends and draft this thing. Hope you guys have a great night's sleep, and I will talk to you guys next time.